back to my channel. Today we're going to make this cute little owl keychain. It's made with plush yarn, safety eyes, black yarn for embroiderer, and it just turns out really cute. So what you're going to need to make this is a 4mm crochet hook, a darning needle, a stitch marker, a keychain. You can get these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. They come in 2 pieces and you just put them together. 12mm safety eyes. These come with the little glitter backs so that you can have different colored eyes. You can also get these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. Need some black yarn to embroider the little feet and the beak. And you need white plush yarn. This is Posh from I Know We Love Joann's. And Michaels sells their product now. I'm not sure if it's what the name of their yarn is. If you know, please comment below so people know where to get it. But you can find this kind of yarn at Michaels now for double the price. You also need some scissors. So let's begin. We're going to start with a magic ring. And if you need to use the chain 2 method, that's fine. And I do my magic ring a little loose because if you do it too tight and you go to close your magic ring, it will snap on you. This yarn will snap. So you want to make sure that you do your first single crochets into the ring fairly loose. So we're going to do 7 single crochets. So there's 1. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, now we're going to take our little ring and we're going to tighten it. You don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want it to snap, especially right here, because then it could come undone on you. But just make sure it's snug so there's no hole poking through or hole. And then we're going to continue. We're not going to slip stitch. We're just going to continue stitch over stitch. So the next row is going to be an increase row. So we're going to do 2 single crochets. Sorry, the last pattern I was working on had double crochets. 2 single crochets into every stitch. So we'll have 14 stitches when we're all done. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So now rows 3 through 4, we're going to do 2 rows to build up upon this ring to give it some height. So we're going to do 2 rows of just 14 single crochet. There's one. And just make sure you turn your work right side out. You don't want to inadvertently work on the wrong side and put your eyes in on the wrong side. So just flip it because it'll turn into a little cup. Let's do one more row. And if you struggle with this yarn, once it turns into a little cup and you have good lighting, you can see the stitches. You can see right where to go. You can see where you've been and where you need to go. I work a lot with plush yarn. Oops. It just takes some practice and patience, but your work really turns out cute and soft and squishy. Oops, getting ahead of myself. I also hold a lot of tension on my amigurumi so that I get really even tight stitches, so sometimes that causes my hook to pull off. All right, so now we're going to add the wings. So we're going to do 3 single crochet. Don't forget to always mark that first stitch. All right, so now we've got 3 single crochet. We're going to chain 2. And in the second chain from the hook, right here, we're going to put 3 single crochet, all in that same stitch. Gives us a little blob. And then back into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, right where the yarn is coming through, you're going to slip stitch. Okay, so now this is our next stitch right here. So we're going to do 7 single crochets. And don't worry about your wings sticking up. Once we do the next round, they'll go down. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to chain 2. And in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do 3 single crochet. And then here's our stitch that we started in. We're going to slip stitch back into it. And then you should have 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to do 4 single crochet. All right, this is what it should look like. Little flying ghost. So now we're going to do 2 more rounds of single crochet. My husband just woke up, so he's probably going to barge in while I'm recording. So that's 3. Oops, I forgot to put my stitch marker in. So 1, 2, 3. So this was part of the 3rd single crochet from the last round. So we don't want to single crochet into it because it'll add a stitch to our round. We're going to go above it and we're going to single crochet into where we single crocheted after making the wing. So right here, it's really hard to see, but there's a stitch right here. You're going to single crochet, oh, I apologize, single crochet, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, and there's 10 right here, and the wing is part of 10, so we're going to go around it, and you should have 11, 12, 13, 14. So right here, if you count back, it'll show you exactly where to go. So into the stitch above the wing, we're going to go into the stitch, make a single crochet. My husband's doing the dishes. Go, husband! All right, so now you can see the wings aren't quite as up as they were. They're just sticking out to the side. And we're going to do one more round of single crochet, which will be much easier this round because you've gone over the wings already. 2. And if you have to push your wing down so you can see, do that. All right, so now we've got all of our rows. The next row is going to be a decrease row, so we're going to grab another stitch marker. And just plop it into our loop there, because we're going to add the eyes and embroider the beak and the feet. I like to do that before I stuff. That's just me. I find it to be much easier to embroider when you have an opening back here and you can see. So we're going to get our black yarn and we're going to get our safety eyes. And I chose like a yellowy gold for these eyes, and the center just comes out, and then you put the glitter back onto the eye, but they need to be 12 millimeter. Anything bigger is going to look kind of crazy. You could go smaller too and space them out more if you want, but I like the way the 12s look. Give it a little puppy dog look. So what we want to do is we want these to be a full stitch apart because you want room to embroider the beak. So I always put my eyes in, and you'll put them in between, this is row 7 here, and this is row 6, so you're going to put them in between row 6 and 7. So there's one. I'm not fastening the backs on yet because I want to make sure I get them in place. Come on. There we go. But you just want to make sure that you can embroider a nose in between there. So when you push these down, you're going to have a little beak like this. So what I do is I go ahead and embroider the nose before I fasten my eyes down. They're not going anywhere, so I say that now. So let's go ahead and get our yarn on our needle. And we're going to go up from behind. I'm going to go up in between the eyes. And we're going to pull through. And I would leave enough to tie a knot. Got little fuzzies. Fuzzies. Then we're going to go down into this stitch here and up. And don't pull too tight. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to come out through this stitch. And if you need to pull a little to straighten it, then we're going to go down into the same stitch and come up. And then you have a little beak. So I go ahead and I'm going to tie a knot. Don't pull it too tight. The tighter you pull, the tighter it'll pull down on your beak. If you pull too tight, your beak could disappear. So I just do a couple knots and then I trim off the excess. And now we can fasten on our eyes. So I do also recommend, which I'll put a link in the description, one of these little bag guys. The safety eye pliers, they help me tremendously. I've been using these for a while, and I mean, they literally just pop the eyes right onto your project. It's awesome. So I'm going to use them and show you how they work. So you go ahead and put your back onto the eye. You don't have to squish it or anything. Then you take this rounded part here, goes over the eye, and then the safety portion goes into the other side, and you squish, and look at that. It pops it all the way down. My hands, I have arthritis in my left hand. It takes all my strength to get a back on 2 notches. So if you have the same problem, I highly recommend these. And they're not expensive. They're not like $40 like they were when they first came out. These I think were like $7.99. And then there's another piece, and you can put this down in, and this is for smaller eyes, for the smaller backs. And then it just pops out and goes right in there. Very handy. Highly recommended. All right. So now we've got our eyes and our beak. So let's go ahead and get our needle that's still threaded, and we're going to do the feet. They're going to look like this. So we're going to go down into your project, and this is our magic ring. Row 1, 2, 3. This is 3, so in between 2 and 3, we're going to go ahead and pull our yarn. You want to leave enough of a tail to tie, but you want enough yarn so that you can do both feet. I do one foot at a time. I don't continue on to the other foot. So in the very next stitch, go ahead and insert your needle. So you're going to have a flat stitch going across, just like that. And if you like your feet like that, you can leave them like that, but I want them to be little upside down triangles. So I'm going to go into the stitch underneath or below. I'm going to go up and through, and then I'm going to go underneath this stitch that we just created. Pull your yarn through, and then I'm going to go back in to the stitch, and I'm going to pull through and pull down. Not too tight. You don't want your little foot to disappear. So if you need to pull your yarn out a little bit and then pull down, gives you the perfect little foot. Now you can continue onto the other foot if you want. Sorry, I had to pull that. But I always just tie off. And you don't want to tie super tight. You just want a couple knots. And then I just go on to the other foot. So we're going to do these a stitch apart. So I'm going to go down into my work, and I'm going to come out in between. I'm going to go across, one stitch over and up. Then I'm going to go back down into my work, find the stitch directly in between and under the stitch we just, or below the stitch we just made. Go up through, and then we're going to go back down into the stitch and pull. Now we want, before we tighten that, we want to pull our yarn a little bit and then pull down. And then it gives you your little feet. So now you can take your needle, put that to the side, tie a couple knots. Now, if you don't want to make this a keychain, you don't have to. I'll show you how I attached my keychain. I just did it while I was fastening off. All right. So now we can continue with crocheting. But first you're gonna need some polyfill. You don't need this much, but you want to stuff it good. Just squish it down in there, because you want it to be pretty stiff. And just push it with your thumb. Really get the stuffing in there. And if you have to add a little bit more, it's easier to stuff it now than it is to try to stuff it through the hole after we decrease. So, but as you crochet, you can hold your stuffing down, but it should be full. So let's go ahead and get our hook, and we're going to do 7 decreases. Now, I learned how to decrease the way I'm going to show you. It's an invisible decrease. If you learned a different way or do it differently, do it however you want to, but I like the way mine turns out. So I go into the front loops only, and I hook into one loop, and then I hook into the next loop. I pull through both loops. Sorry, that was off camera. I'll show you again. And then I pull through the remaining 2 loops. That's my first decrease. I'm going to mark it. So again, I go through, this is part of this first stitch. So you don't want to try to decrease in another decrease. So we're going to go into the front loop, which can be tricky, because you can't really see. And then I go into the second loop. I pull through those 2 loops, and then I pull through the last 2. So that's 2. The ones by the eyes can be a little harder. So 1. Try not to grab your stuffing with your hook. Come on. 2. Pull through 2. Pull through 2. 1. That was our 3rd decrease, by the way. This is number 4. If I can get my hook into it. There we go. Pull through 2, pull through 2. I just think this method of decreasing really makes things look nice. Oh. Okay. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 decreases left. 1, 2, 1, and you're inevitably, you might grab stuffing. Don't worry about it. 1, 2. All right, so we've done our 7 decreases. So you can take out your stitch marker. Go ahead and slip stitch into that stitch. Pull it down. Go ahead and tie or cut your yarn with enough to fasten off. Just made it snow with all the all right. So you need to grab your keychain if you're going to do a keychain. If not, you can just fasten off. So we're going to go into the front loops of every decrease we made. And pull it a little snug. And you should have 1 more. There it is. All right. So now my little owl got funky when I stuffed him. There we go. So now this is where I add in the keychain. So I go through the ring that we just created just to make sure it's fastened. Oh, that would be why. This is why I got funky. I didn't realize I got a ring through that. Oh, that's going to be fun. Well, when things happen, we improvise. So let's make this loop that I have just created work. So let's loop onto it. Oh, let's loop onto it, shall we? Come on. There we go. So let's go through. Normally you wouldn't, it's gonna do it again. You need to watch your yarn, folks. So I'm gonna go up and over this loop here so that I can hide it. Sometimes you just have to make it work. I was wondering why my wing was wonky, because I got my yarn around it. I'm glad I noticed that. But look how it worked out, see? Despite the setback, I was able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. That gives it a little bit of a little bump on his head. But that's fine. So we've got our keychain on. We're going to put our yarn down into the work. Go ahead and feed it through a couple times, maybe 3. And then pull it, snip it, squish it, and there you have it. You have little owl keychain. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have questions, please let me know. I will put links to everything, the little pliers, the eyes, the keychains, all in the description. And if you make one, please send me a picture. I'd love to see your work, or tag me. I'm on Facebook. Have a great day and take care, as always.